You can go on.
Michael, do you want to start us off then?
Oh, okay. So welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about friendships. If you guys don't already know, we're doing a new format for the Friday meeting where we have a discussion, and it's called The Table. And, you know, we do miss those times where we get to speak with each other, whether it's a conversation at the table or the kitchen table, or, you know, just at a conference, whatever the case is. I know all of us are really missing that right now. So we're trying to recreate that as best as we can, and we're talking about friendship. We're going to be answering some questions, kind of discussing what our point of view is of what friendship is, what the definition of friendship is from our perspective, and what the Bible describes and defines what friendship is. So I think that leads us quite nicely into the first question. So
sorry, Michael. Sorry, do you want to introduce us? Because I'm conscious that some people don't know who we are.
Sure. So, Yusuf, we got Michael, we got Miriam. There's two Michaels. So Michael Gobb, Michael Mard, and we also have Sandra, who sadly was not able to join us today. But yeah, that's us, and we're all good friends. So, you know, we're gonna have a nice discussion about friendships. So the first question, let's kick it off. What do we describe as true friendship? What's true friendship to you?
I think if it's okay with you guys, I'll start it off. My view of friendship's really different maybe to other people. And the reason I say that is, for those of you who don't know me, as a kid, I used to travel a lot. So my dad worked for the UN. I lived in a lot of different countries. And in each country, you sort of go, you meet people, and then before you've sort of managed to make true friendship, true bond, you just move on to the next country. And unfortunately, my mentality, or at least my personality, is like out of sight, out of mind. You know, some people are like, absence makes the heart grow fonder, but for me, it's like, if I don't see you, I forget you. So it's
Bye, Felicia.
it's not intentional. Like I've had some really good friends along the way, but it's really like impacted my view on what it means to like have a friendship, especially long-term friendships. And so my definition isn't necessarily one of like long-lasting or enduring, even though I'm sure those are important. My definition of a true friendship tends to be one of like, do I have someone who's willing to convict me and like challenge me when I'm doing something wrong? Or do I have a friend who, in the moment of a struggle or a weakness, is willing to sort of sit by my side and sort of counsel me through something? I take those qualities as something that's really true, because you can spend loads of time with people. You can know someone for 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is. And if they're not willing to challenge you, or if they're not willing to be with you in those difficult moments, then I think that says a lot about the dynamic. So that tends to be my view on true friendship.
Yeah, I'm not a nostalgic person at all either. I like, my brother and I are complete opposites when it comes to this. I'm not someone that thinks, oh, I grew up with this person, or I've known this person for this many years, so automatically like we're very close. So I did a bit of prep because I'm so good at this whole talk show thing. And when I was thinking about this question, I thought of like specific friends, and then I wrote down like what qualities I thought they had. So I'm just going to read them out to you. I thought of like 5 different qualities that to me, I look for in true friendship. So I'm just going to go in order. Someone who reminds you of who you are and who you're called to be. Someone who accepts you for all that you are with no judgment. Someone whose presence brings you closer to your creator. Someone who inconveniences themselves for you. And someone who cries with you in the sad times and cheers with you in the happy times. So to me, like, from the people that I would count as like true friends, these were qualities that I was able to pick up from them.
Could you expand a bit on the inconveniencing part? Because I feel like that's the hardest thing for me to practically apply, but like what does that look like to you?
I feel like it's very easy to be like a friend of convenience. Like, it's very easy if I happen to be in the same friendship group as you and we happen to constantly come across each other to say like nice comments here and there. It requires like a lot more investment for me to reach out to you midweek, or for you after you've told me that you've got an interview, to like mark it on my calendar so I can check up on you afterwards and see how you are. It's not always like the most convenient thing in life, but I think true friendship like calls for that. True friendship calls for like taking that extra step like over and over again. Um, Something that Sandra was speaking to me about was like the friends of the paralytic man, and how like they weren't just by him and being like, oh, Ghelben, look at him, like ربنا معاك, like I hope you feel better, like if you need anything let me know. No, they literally like picked him up, they took him to the top of the roof, they like took the tiles away, they labored for him, and then they like saw like the fruit of their labor afterwards. And to me, like, yeah, it's nice to be the friend that like, I don't know, when you've um when you've got like something to celebrate and you're around a big group of people, you're a hype man amongst like other people. It's a truer type of friendship to me when you're going through something really, really difficult that makes your friend feels awkward, or makes them feel like cornered, or makes them feel inconvenienced, and they have to like turn up for you, and they're doing it willingly, even though they could be doing 1,001 things with their time that feels a lot better. So that's
Okay.
inconveniencing to me.
Yeah. I resonated with like the 5 points that, was it five? I don't know how many points you said, Michael, but I liked all of them. And it's really nice that you actually went and, wrote down like these 5 things about your friends, because when you put it like that, actually I've realized that those are the qualities that I know I admire in my friends too. But like in the affliction thing, a friend who's with us now, Nadia, actually recommended this book to me before the meeting, right before. And I'm just reading it now, and it's the Book of Sirach, and it says, again, some friend is a companion at the table, and will not continue in the day of your affliction. So, like you can have people in your, I'm going to say friends, that, are with you in these happy days, and the days of dancing, and the days of, joy. When it comes to the low times, or the affliction, or even just the, checking up after an interview, or checking up after something, they won't be, or even me, I won't inconvenience myself to go check up or something like that. So I really like, this whole chapter is rich in friendship and stuff. So when you said that, it just reminded me of it. So yeah, I thought I'd share. But yeah, like I believe a friend needs to be there both, at the table, because friendship is joyful, and friendship has so many good things, but also friendship is there in the times of sadness, and the times of kind of like Jesus, and we're trying to be like Jesus. So like you know we should always look to be faithful to our friends, just like Christ is faithful to us.
There's a really lovely quote I came across by Saint Maximus the Confessor, and it says, "A true friend is one who, in times of trial, calmly and emotionally suffers with his neighbor the ensuing afflictions, poverty, and disasters as if they were his own." So it's kind of like echoing exactly what you're saying, Miriam.
I really like that though, what you said, because like, that taking on another person's emotion, like I feel like what I think I remember is that like, oh no, forget what I'm about to say, but I really like the fact that, a friend is meant to actually not just be there, but actually, take on that, somewhat like pain, or all the emotions you're facing at that moment. And in a way, like, you know, if I don't do that for a friend, or if the friend doesn't do it to me, I kind of feel distant. Like it's not really like, you know.
What's your purpose? You're just there, like
Yeah,
you're not actively doing anything.
exactly.
You're being like very reactive, but not proactive at all.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. It's like exactly. Someone said sympathy or empathy, something like that, or I don't remember, but kind of like that. Like, you know, a friend, I feel like they're actually there, like kind of like in me, like with me in all things. But just like another person is just like, um, in Arabic, malish, malish, and then they just go. But like, but I mean, yeah. So malish means like it's okay, it's okay.
It's kind of nice, almost in the sense that, like, among many blessings that come from like a difficult situation, a difficult situation can be really telling with friendships as well. Like both ways. It's a two-way street. I'm not going to sit and say, oh wow, this difficult situation that I went through, that's really shown me that person A and person B are not that, you know, good friends, or like and then person X and person Y are in fact really true friends. But as well as, like, it's a two-way street. I think, yeah, for sure there's a responsibility on both ends to show up in those times. And yeah, like, I think they're definitely among one of those blessings that we get from those painful situations, kind of realizing, you know, who we can actually rely on, like lift us up, and, you know, what's actually more of a friendship that is not as deep as we once thought it was.
And I think it like more often than not in those times, people that you personally maybe weren't planning on investing that much into end up really, really, really surprising you. And you get like very humbled because you realize like clearly there's something here that like God is like checking me, like he's showing me that clearly my eyes are drawn to a shiny type of friend, but actually the friend that's by my side and the one that's like really like with me, like the one that's got my back, is the person that maybe I've neglected, or the person that I've not thought to like give as much time or attention.
Yeah,
I love that. I really love that. You know, I feel like everyone. I'm speaking for myself, but I feel like a lot of people have gone through situations like that. You know, like through high school, university, all these things, and you're like, oh yeah, I want to be friends with them or something like that. But little do we know is that like, you know, again, we look at the outward stuff. We look at, you know, what I can see from the outside kind of thing. But you know, God looks at the heart. So like, um, God has something. God has someone. Maybe you wouldn't even think of it, you know, to be your friend or to be someone. But you're not looking at them because you know you're looking at someone else who's got, you know, those cool trousers or shoes. I don't know. I don't know, but
Is that what gets you, Miriam?
no,
The person with the cool trousers.
I like flare jeans. Flare jeans are cool, but you know, yeah. So like we're, you know, the last thing sometimes we look at is the heart. So it's nice that God has our back and says, you know, I know someone. I know someone that's good for you. I'm gonna send them your way. I'm gonna open this window, and it's exactly like you said. Sometimes you don't even expect it, but it just shows up in your life, and it's really a grace.
Does that mean we are only friends with particular people, or can we be friends with everyone? Like, just because based off of this conversation, we're saying like God might have some people prepared, and in some ways it almost sounds a bit like a marriage or something. But can we theoretically have this with everyone?
Wait, what's the question?
Because we're talking about how, like, I really loved what you were saying, that there are people who we don't expect to have like characteristics and qualities of real wonderful friendships, and become close friends to you, and vice versa. There are people perhaps who we've been with that don't necessarily meet that standard, or we ourselves don't meet that standard. Are we called to be friends with particular people, or in theory can we have that friendship with everyone? What do you guys think?
I mean,
No,
sorry.
no, you go. I'm still thinking in my mind.
I was still thinking as well. I was thinking out loud.
I was just gonna say, like, I think I think we can have fellowship with everyone, and I think we're called to have fellowship with everyone. But at the same time, I feel like from all the points that Michael mentioned in the beginning, the 5 that you mentioned, I feel like it's difficult to have such a close connection with so many people. Like, for example, I have to, inconvenience myself for 150,000. Like, it's a lot of people, right? So, but I feel like we're called to love everyone. Um, this is just me thinking out loud again. But I don't know, like, and we're, called to have fellowship and meet people and lift each other up all the time. But I feel like there's enough friends out there, like, for everyone. Like God's given everyone like their a portion of this friendship. There might be an amazing friend on the other side of the world, but I never met her. But anyway, she's covered. She's got a friend, or maybe this person that I don't know. I'm still thinking out loud, but do you get what I mean? Like, I feel like God's given everyone this opportunity to have friendship with many people, the people whom God wants, and those of things. But as well as Christians, I feel like we're also called to love everyone. And yeah,
I really like that. I think you hit the nail on the head, Miriam.
yeah.
Like, fellowship should be with everyone. And then to answer your question, Yusuf, this is completely like my opinion. So I've got nothing to back it, but I definitely think it's very, very possible for us to have friendships where there's a mutual benefit. Because I don't know, I know this wasn't like the way that you like gave the question. For some reason in my mind, I kind of received it as if it was like, okay, God, who do you want me to go out and be friends with next? As if it was like my decision. But really, like, sometimes I feel like God is like, you know what, you stay right there. I'm sending someone to you who needs, to help you through X, Y, and Z. And I think for sure there can definitely be like a mutual benefit. That being said, I do think that, I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe, but I feel like there are some friendships that if we're not prepared for them, can pull us in a direction that God doesn't want us. And not necessarily saying that God doesn't, want us to be friends with them, but maybe it's, kind of a fellowship type relationship instead of like a really close and intimate friendship.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's how I think about friendship. I feel like for me, it's all genuinely about how invested I am in God. If I'm on it, and if I'm pushing myself to like be with God, and I'm making the effort to like involve him in my life every day, naturally I feel like my heart ends up becoming a lot more open, and I end up naturally being burdened for a lot of people around me. And then it's harder to not make friends, and it's harder to see someone and not have that desire to like be there for them, or to serve them, or to just befriend them, just so they feel like they have someone, whether it's in the church or because I feel like there's a similarity between us or whatever. What I do find is when I'm like the opposite is also true. So when I am further away from God, it becomes a lot easier and a lot like more burdensome to make any type of effort with a stranger. And my heart almost like the circle, like rather than expanding, like really, really, really shrinks. And then I'm more than happy and more than content with the people that I already have around me. But saying that, I do agree with Miriam. I think like even Jesus had like 12 disciples, and that was like his immediate circle. And then there's like a wider circle. So I think it's natural that when your heart is open, you form connections that are stronger than others. But I don't think as Christians that we're not called for true friendship with everyone around us, if that makes sense. I think if we are pursuing God, I really, really think naturally he opens up our heart in a way that longs to befriend the person in front of us whether it's because you're so different that like the Holy Spirit makes me realize I need to learn from you, or you're so similar that I want to like serve you, or just be by you, or you're so lost that I feel like I want to like help you, or you're so close to God that I feel like I want to like cling on to you. Like whatever it is in your life, like I feel like the Holy Spirit, if your heart is open, puts like those eyes in you that long for a connection with the person in front of you. I don't know if you guys agree with what I'm saying.
I think I really like the way you put it, and I like, that point of view, because um when you put when you put it, with God, I'm thinking now of like, all the like Saint Paul and all these people who was like their relationship with God, or their friendship with God was so strong that they lived their life actually for others. They lived their life, like for he for the church. And he was tortured and many things, but he was like, what was that verse? Maybe Mina, you can help me, or anyone. Like he was okay with his pain. Like he was okay. Like he went to prison, and he was like, and then he was like, as long as you guys are okay, and sending letters like, as long as you guys are, your fellowship is good, as long as your church is getting better, but keep strong, I'm okay. Yeah, but he's looking at them, he's taking care of them. So no, I think like if I can just like close my eyes and imagine like Saint Paul in front of me, I can definitely imagine him doing something like that, or just meeting anyone in the street and being like, hey, can I be a friend, or something like that, or do you know Christ, or something like. um I guess that relationship, or that friendship with God, is exactly what would lead me to want to be friends with many people, like you just said, or with everyone. And just on that note, same chapter, Sirach, it says, a faithful friend is a medicine of life, and they that fear God shall find. Oh, next verse. Okay. Whoso fears the Lord shall direct his friendship aright. For as he is, so shall his neighbor also be. So actually here it's saying that, fearing the Lord directs my friendship. Like me being in God, me being in Christ is actually the one that's gonna bring me to friends, bring me to everyone, like you said, like and also bring people to me, because I believe that, like um when Christ is in you, um people want Christ, and they're going to be like, wow, i'd I'd really like to be with a friend with someone who loves Christ like that, who I'll learn from, who maybe I'll get a taste of Christ from them, or something like that. So I really like what you said, and it's actually just making me think about it, and um about how maybe we are called to have this. um yeah, I think someone, sorry, I'm talking so much, but I think someone once told me, when you walk into a room, you're always trying to find a connection with everyone. And I actually thought about that saying. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, if you walk into a room, you always look everywhere, and you're like, who's this? Who's this? And you're always trying to find some sort of connection with each and every one of them. Um, and I thought to myself, I was like, um, I thought it was something really beautiful first. I thought it's nice that we always want to maybe have friendship and fellowship, but what's even nicer is if I look at them and I say, um, wow, I'd love to have a friendship with them, through Christ. I'd love Christ to be in our everyday lives together, kind of thing. Like I'm not really good at articulating what I'm trying to say, but um, I thought that, like, I feel like we're always called to be with people in whatever form, um, but it's nice to look at everyone in front of you as another child of God, and uh, uh, another heart in front of you, that's waiting to be friended, or someone
And
speak.
I think as well, like it's important to note that like not everyone makes friends the same way. I feel like for the longest time, I didn't understand this about myself. Like I hate like super social event. Like it's my worst nightmare if I go to like someone's house for a barbecue and it's filled with so many people. And that typical scene where like everyone's in the garden and everyone. I mean, this is of course like pre-corona times, so I definitely don't hate it now. But like when everyone's there and everyone's got like their burgers and everyone's just chatting like in random corners, like that's not my vibe. It's not what I enjoy. I don't like it. I feel like it doesn't give me connections with people. It doesn't make me draw to anyone. So I feel like it's also important to like give yourself permission to understand that you connect to people and you make friends in a different way from other people around you, and that's fine. That's okay. Like it's okay if you're the person that needs to zoom in on one person in the room and talk to them throughout the whole day rather than like hopping from one conversation to the other. It's okay if you're someone that needs like a prayer meeting or like some sort of like spiritual activity to like help you feel connected to people around you. It's okay if you feel like you have to be the kind of person to like interact with every single person in the room to make a friend with people. But it's I think sometimes we put pressures on ourselves that like I have to make friends with people in a specific way, in a specific setting. And then it turns us off and we feel pressure that like we need to make friends, we need to socialize, and then we end up like taking a step back rather than a step forward.
Mm. I mean, just following on from that, you're talking about how we make friends in different ways. We're obviously in a different environment now where we're in lockdown. And, some of us, even with our own friends, it's a bit of a different dynamic. Like how in your eyes has that affected your friendships, or how have your friendships changed because of that?
I came across this article in the BBC, and it's by a psychologist called Robin Dunbar, an evolutionary psychologist. And he said that like the lack of social contact between friends and colleagues will have some long-term effects on people in the UK. And he's saying that friendships can deteriorate very quickly if you don't invest in them. It probably only takes about 3 months. And then his article was quoted by like the Independent and so many other like websites as well. This idea of like 3 months is what it takes for a friendship to begin to like disintegrate if you don't invest into it. So I think lockdowns definitely impacted a lot of us in that way, where like we're not investing as much. So we're probably seeing some relationships around us begin to deteriorate slowly.
Yeah, I think I've noticed it as well. And I've noticed it particularly when perhaps the friendship that I've had, like what the foundation of that friendship, if it was external to me or external to us. So if our friendship was purely because we saw each other at a specific time or in the week or at work or whatever, and that's what kept us going, then naturally, once that factor has been removed, the friendship begins to slowly like loosen. But what I found particularly nice during this lockdown is when the foundation has been, I mean, personal to me, like church and Christ. And, Christ doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And I've had those avenues to speak to my friends with Christ in mind. Like I found those to be quite, for some reason, they tended to persist. And I don't know if that's just because I've been going to online meetings anyway, and we see each other that way. But even for people who I haven't really spoken to in a long time, like it's quite easy to rekindle that conversation because Christ is in the midst. And that's one of the things that I think is pretty fundamental to like Christian friendship, because I know the world has a view of friendship, which can just be hanging out, pleasure, what can the other person do for me maybe. But when it comes to Christian friendship, like a lot of it is so much based on how do we convict each other? How do we sort of grow in our journey towards Christ? And there's so many like examples in the Bible and outside of it. You've got Saint Anthony and Saint Paul, like they met once, had a piece of bread, and Saint Anthony's life was changed, and he documented Saint Paul's story. Or Saint John Chrysostom and Saint Olympia, if you don't know them, like first of all, I think that's a great friendship because it shows that guys and girls can be friends, like even saints. But also, like, they were writing letters and they were like really supportive of each other. And Saint John Chrysostom was like encouraging Saint Olympia because she went through a period of like depression and despondency, and all his letters were about encouragement. And then you even have like examples in the Bible of David and Jonathan, like they're the pinnacle when it comes to friendship. I was reading in like First Samuel, and just like listen to how the Bible describes the relationship. Like in Samuel 1:18, it says the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. It's just like, these are like really big words. And even in Samuel 20:23, it says, and as for the matter of which you and I have spoken, i.e. David, behold, the Lord is between you and me forever. Like friendship in a Christian sense is really powerful. And there's a lot of like strength to be gained and derived from it, especially when God's in the midst. So just from my own personal experience, I know lockdown's been really funky. And I know there are plenty of people, even in the church, who found that their friendships haven't been as strong. But just personally speaking, I found my Christian ones to have lasted a bit longer, because there's something about going on a journey of growth with these people that seems to overcome the social distance that we've been forced into.
Yeah, I agree. I think lockdown's a really sticky one, and going just that statistic that you mentioned about the 3 months, Michael, it's kind of crazy, but it's true. And I feel like that's essentially in anything, like anything that, or any friendship or anything that is, I think based on how, like I'm going to see them at church anyway, or any friendship that's based on I'm going to see them at school or uni or anything like that, you realize that like, when the time gets, rough, or when, communication isn't that good, actually that friendship is really, really hard to maintain, and it doesn't become a friendship anymore, but more of a, oh, I need to message, oh, I need to do this, something like this. And I feel like that's something that I guess we all need to work on instead. Like I feel like we need to look at our friends in a way that they're not more like a job, but more of, this is person that, and even in my past or in my presence right now, I truly love them. I truly love them. So actually, I want to communicate with them. I want to build our relationship. I want to go through challenges with you. I want to better myself from you, and all of these things. So I feel like that's a really big thing that maybe we need to like start to look friends like what just happened. I feel like that's something that we need to just like rethink about our friends, instead of, it's more of a because that's what we do. We always like, I need to check up on this person, I need to check, but like maybe let's reprogram and say, I need to check up on this person because I love her, kind of thing. Like, and maybe if you just say that every time you check up, I'll be like, oh hey, I love you, kind of thing. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like it's just like how do I put this? Like, yeah, I feel like it's a mentality that we're growing in, like, and it's a mentality that we gain definitely through our relationship in Christ, 100%. But at the same time, I feel like as well as the friendships that were struggling and stuff, and I feel like lockdown has also, just on a good note, strengthened a lot of relationships too, because the lockdown brought loneliness, the lockdown brought many things. So maybe this is just me, I don't know, but like I feel like the lockdown, you see some friendships actually strengthening. You see some people actually wanting to spend more time because, hey ho, we're all in this together, kind of thing. So I've definitely seen some um, some really good sides of friendship, and I've
That
seen.
same article was saying there's like apparently been a massive peak in the UK with people talking to their neighbors and becoming friends with people on the street, because a lot of people, especially like in London, don't bother.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, no, exactly. Like you see, you see things like that, and that makes me just so happy to hear. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go check on my number tomorrow. Thanks.
I think like one thing I've noticed in lockdown that's been a pleasant surprise and kind of humbled me is realizing like how much grace my friends are giving me. So I feel like it's very easy for me to feel very guilty that I'm not investing as much as I feel like I should, or I'm not having like the regular phone conversations, or I'm not whatever. And then to see like when I'm messaging and I'm like, hey, how are you, Missy? Da, da, da. I'm so sorry, I've been really rubbish lately. Da, da, da. The responses where it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, we're all in lockdown. It's completely understandable. It's fine. Like, that really, really, really like lifts my spirit and makes me feel almost like, okay, it's good. Like, the relationship hasn't deteriorated. It hasn't like, it hasn't completely gone out the window. Just because you haven't invested doesn't mean that it's all going backwards. And I think that's something that maybe because God wanted to teach me that through my friends, like to give people grace in this period. I think that's something that we all need to like pray for, and it's something we'll need to carry in our hearts to just be able to look at our friends and give them grace. If someone's not investing as much as I thought they would, we're all in bizarre situations right now, and everyone's reacting very differently to like living in their own little bubble and not interacting with anyone, that we have to like find that grace to give each other, I think.
I know this year has been very, very terrible, but there's kind of a bittersweet fact behind this idea that we've all had a terrible year in common. Like,
Is there
the fact that we've all had that in common, I think it kind of just removed any kind of excuse of being able to say, well, you know what, I'm going through a tough time right now. I'm sorry, like, I just have to peace out. No, everyone's gone through a really, really tough time. And like, yeah, I really like what you said, Yusuf, because I think what you mentioned, it kind of shows like maybe our friendships depend on where we place our identity. Like if I place, say I love like music and guitar and stuff, like if I place my identity
just like hypothetical example.
Completely hypothetical. Like all my friends are going to be like the musician guys, or someone who like, I don't know, like someone who goes gym regularly. They're going to have like, you know, the people who they go gym with, all that stuff. But one verse that Sandra sent on the group chat that I really liked was like, yeah, iron sharpens iron. And it's kind of like, I like also what you said, Miriam, about like, let's change this. And instead of it being like an, you know, like instead of us like huffing and puffing and being like, you know, fine, I've got to check on this person, we can check ourselves, because in that verse saying that iron sharpens iron, well, guess what? Like we have to be that iron as well. Like we can't change as well. And yeah, I guess to sum up, this year, although it's been a terrible year, I like the fact that it's kind of, to some extent, kind of leveled the playing field, so that we can kind of remove, for the most part, excuses. Obviously, there's definitely independent situations, and people have had much more difficult times than other people. But for the most part, the fact that we're all in the same boat, I think has been really like telling and like helpful in a lot of ways.
Given us empathy, like so much as we sort of remove the excuse of, oh, I'm having a hard time, and someone else might say me too. It's more about, oh, I'm having a hard time, and our response is, I understand. You know, obviously everyone's got a different experience, and some, as you say, some people have struggled in different ways, perhaps more intense than others. But this entire pandemic's humbled us. You know, we've come to terms with the fact that we're mortal. We've come to terms with the fact that we're not as free mentally as we thought we were. Obviously, we're free in Christ, and that's a different kind of freedom, but just in terms of movement, in terms of seeing people. And in that, at least for me, it's really helped connect with people who are struggling. And I loved what you said, Michael Gobbs, about this whole idea of grace and showing grace to your friends, because I think that's what we all sort of just desire, especially in moments of difficulty and weakness, to be able to sit with someone, or to even be able to sit with yourself and say, it's okay, this is acceptable, we're all struggling, but we can continue. I think that's probably been one of the most soothing comments that anyone could give during this time. And I've seen it in a lot of my friends, and it is an incredible thing. So as difficult as the lockdown has been in terms of trying to maintain those friendships, I love this idea that we're called to show grace and to receive it as well.
And I think as well, we need to recognize when God's given us that grace and act on it very, very, very quickly before the desire goes away. Because I think, especially during lockdown, for some people, I think it's much, much more natural to pick up the phone and call someone or FaceTime someone and just catch up for hours. It's not in my nature. I'm a very quick voice note type of person. I'm not long calls and I want to chit chat. Unless I'm seeing you in person, I find that genuinely difficult to do. But I think in those random pockets of moments where I feel like the Holy Spirit's giving me a desire to pick up the phone and call Miriam, pick up the phone and call Michael, I need to act on it now. I need to stop whatever I'm watching. It's not time for Bridgerton. It's not time for nobody. I need to put it all on pause. And I can't believe I just promoted that on Friday.
Another.
Anybody got time for the Duke? You gotta pick up the phone and call your friends. Call your friends, people. Honestly, because I feel like God gives us that grace, and I need to trust in that moment that He's given it to me for a reason. In the same way that when I get an encouraging message from someone or a lovely verse or whatever, and I feel like it's lifted off my spirit, there's a reason that in that second you feel the Holy Spirit telling you I wonder how this person is, or I wonder how this person's mum is in church that I've not thought of all lockdown, and now all of a sudden I've thought of her. Let me message, let me call, let me be proactive, because I think especially in this day and age with what we're going through, this is the fuel of the church. We more than ever we're realizing that we are the church and not necessarily the building that we're in. So the second I feel a conviction, I need to recognize that this is a grace from God and I need to act on it right now. And there's some people that are amazing at this, but some of us need that push to do something.
Do you know what? That's so crazy. Sorry. Because I just I know that's happened to me, and I'll be thinking of someone and I didn't message them. But the funny thing is that maybe an hour or tomorrow, the day after, they've messaged me or something like that, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So take over someone else. So.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say, I think back in the day, like you guys said, I can't remember who said, was it Yusuf, Michael? I can't remember, but when you guys mentioned that, when we see people, it kind of act as a cue. At least maybe for me, anyways, personally, it would act as a cue for me to oh, wait a second, let me ask about this thing. Let me ask about this interview that they went to or whatever. And I think the fact that we're in COVID now, and the fact that all those kind of physical cues have been removed, you know what? It's not too bad if you're really busy and you think of that person to set a quick reminder on your phone, just say, hey, let me just text them, or let me just call up them. And if you're intently praying for someone as well, then you're reminding yourself of that person constantly. So even though times have changed, I think because the times have changed, it's kind of called for a change of practice for many of us. Because if I was going to go on old ways, and if I was going to remain my old self and only remember to ask about people when I see them physically in church, then I wouldn't be asking about anyone. And to be honest, for the first part of lockdown, that did happen. So as much as like I think different people have different dynamics, for sure times are tough, and I feel like we kind of got to step out of our comfort zone a little bit and kind of whatever it takes. Like
we can't all rely on me and Nabil reaching out to people. Is what we're learning in this lockdown. We all have jobs to do, and we can't rely on the two people that reach out to people to do it for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that brings us on to the next question. So I guess we kind of all touched on this a little bit, but how do we maintain friendships? So I guess we've talked about a lot about kind of the definition of friendships, kind of a foundation, and like you said, Mike, for the grace and how we should kind of act on that. But is there anything, I don't know, maybe like tangible steps that we should do? I guess, are we talking about like, the decision between sending a text, sending a voice note, FaceTiming someone? What do you guys think about that?
I think Michael made a really lovely point earlier about how, like, the more we grow in our love with God and in our relationship with God, the more that desire gets put in our heart for other people. Like if we have a friendship with God, and especially during lockdown, we've got the time, we've got the sort of solitude to sit with him and grow with him. If that gets developed, like naturally, there's a fire in our hearts to love other people because God's implanting his own love and desire for others. Like in the 2 commandments of, love the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, and strength and body, and love your neighbor as yourself. Like you can't do one without the other. They're both sort of linked. And likewise, as we grow in our relationship with God, as we grow in our fervor with God, there's a burden on our hearts to love our neighbor. And I really think that's an important first step, because it's very easy when we're sort of alone, or if we're struggling and we're not seeing people, to get caught up in our own world. And the most effective thing that I've seen that gets me out of that has been my sort of quiet time, because it reminds me of my own humanity. It reminds me of my neighbor, reminds me of my friends. And I think God grants us grace to be able to extend the love that he gives us to other people. And practically what that looks like, to be honest, it's down to person. Like each person can do it in a different way, whether it's a text or a call or a message. Or I've seen some people send over gifts or buy takeaway for other people on Uber, or they'll I'm not suggesting we necessarily do this, but they'll socially distance, like go to someone's house and speak to them from a distance, and all, like, there's different ways of expressing that love, but ultimately you just need that love to be there to begin with. And so I really agree. And God is our friend as well, first and foremost. And he gives us the perfect template of friendship. We're talking about God giving us grace, and then we give other people grace. We're talking about one who's there for us in our weakness. We're talking about one who knows our struggles. And that's Christ. He was a friend to all. He was a friend to the tax collector, the sinner, to the leper, everyone who was ostracized, he was there. So I really think that, at least for me personally, that's sort of what drives a lot of my extending and maintaining those friendships, because it's really easy otherwise to focus on yourself, but God sort of takes us out of ourselves.
I don't know why, but sorry, Maria.
No, Kamil.
Like for some reason, for me, like in lockdown, I've found it harder than ever to do quiet time. I think a part of me always, like when I would do my quiet time, knew that at some point in the week I'm going to be around community. And to me, that's a massive driver of my relationship with God. Like I need the body, I need to feel connected to people. And I think I believed a lie for a while in lockdown that if like quiet time will never be the same because I have no one to like talk to about it. I have no like connection with people. It's literally just me and God. I convinced myself for some reason that it was almost like a bit diluted. And I think what I'm realizing more than ever is what you're saying, Yusuf, it's the more you push yourself to do your own quiet time in your personal time, in your house, in your room, on your own, the more that you feel connected to people more than ever, more than ever. It's like that big tree in Avatar, you know that movie with the blue people. You know how like they all have like those weird tail things that like they attach themselves to, and then they're attached to like that weird mysterious tree where they get their energy from. I feel like that's our avatar tree. Like quiet time is our avatar tree. If you're doing quiet time and I'm doing quiet time and we're in two different rooms, somehow in some mysterious way, I'm gonna feel this like affinity towards you that wasn't there before. But it's not coming because like of you or me. It's coming because we're in the same bloodstream now. Like there's a connection between us. And I think we all need to come to that realization, not just for like the sake of the other, but for our sakes. Like, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling like you need connection, do your quiet time because it's literally a door to like so many other people, and somehow like it opens something massive up. And I really, really, really felt that, especially in the last couple of days, I have to say.
I super like that. I super like, you know, I feel like there's that day where I've done my quiet time, or I've woken up that little, you know, a bit earlier, and I've gone, you know, and spoken with God. And I find in my day, you know, like, I'm not giving you guys a magic fix, but it really is the more I'm filled, the every time I go up, you know, in the morning, and I speak to God, I realize that in that day I'm actually filled myself. And when I mean filled, it means like I don't feel as lonely as I did yesterday, or I don't feel like any of these, you know, things that, you know, like a failure, anything that comes my way. I realize that, you know, that quiet time is actually the thing, kind of like my cup. Like, I have to have it. It's like that early morning cup of water that you have, and if I don't have it, I'm gonna remain like really dehydrated during the day and kind of exhausted. And I feel like in lockdown, like, you know, it's so, every day is so similar. Every day's you know, like, you know, the lack of routine makes you demotivated, and so many things like that. So making sure that, you know, you're spending time with Christ, and making sure that I'm getting, you know, my cup of, you know, fullness, means that I can go out and do the rest, and I can actually go out and, you know, maybe not focus on my problems, and maybe go help someone else. Like, um sometimes, like, especially in lockdown, it's really straight away, it's what we always do, is fall into, I'm feeling so lonely, or I'm feeling this is, you know, I'm burdened in that way. But you know, when you do your quiet time, and when you know, when you have that relationship with Christ, you allow him to take those burdens off you, so you can go and take someone else's burdens upon you, friendship. And I feel like it's definitely, like, you know, if Michael, you're asking for, you know, physical steps, I feel like Michael, sorry, I'm getting sick. Michael asked, or Michael answered.
call me Gobs, and
Gobs. I feel like Gobs's answer to Michael was definitely a number one for me personally. And then just to add on, I feel like a number two is, during your quiet time, pray for your friends. Pray for the people you love. Like, um, many times, like, when you're praying, and we're asking God, like, God help me, God I'm struggling, God I'm doing this, but in a spiritual, strange way, when I pray for my friends, or when I pray for someone, um I feel like my connection with them is different to just another person on the road, or another person. When I'm, you know, investing time, not in just chatting with them, or having a laugh or something, but actually praying for their struggles, and praying for their feelings, their emotions, whatever they're going through in their life, I realize that it's the same thing. Even in the lockdown, when I can't see them, I want to take your pain, or not your pain. I want you to be okay, even if I'm in a different household so far away. But me praying for you, in a way makes me want to be closer to you and makes me want to be be your habibi kind of thing, like to everyone. So like just I feel like definitely, if we're talking about steps, praying for that person, praying for the many persons. Again, just like St. Paul did it all the time. He'd always pray for his people. He'd always pray for his churches, and he'd always say, I'm thankful for this person. I'm thankful for kaza, kaza, kaza. So like, like these steps all come from, what, the saints have done in the past, and what it says in the Bible. They've all prayed for their friends. They've all, like having them on your mind is a really, really definitely a good one. And yeah, that's for me.
I really like the fact that you kind of read like the epistles, and I did like the word friendship didn't come up in my mind ever. Like I just thought, Saint Paul is serving them in the same way. I don't know, for some reason, like the word service was really detached from friendship when I was reading the epistles. Where like, I really like what you said, Miriam. It's like every epistle, Saint Paul says like, I'm praying for you guys constantly. And I really like that image that you painted, because it portrays it in a light of friendship. And I think as well, like it's also important to do something that seems so normal prayerfully, because I feel like then we can, like we mentioned earlier in the conversation, we can kind of check ourselves. Am I reaching out to this friend because I'm just bored and I'm just looking, or like maybe I've got issues and I just want to dump it on them, or but I feel like, maybe if there's that practice put in place of prayer beforehand, either we pray for our friends and that prayer kind of acts as a reminder to check up on them, and we check up on them from a place of love and from a place of wanting to kind of take any of their burdens. I think, by praying beforehand, I really like what you guys have said, because in any other sense, it seems kind of like a selfish exchange, or like a one-way street of just like, I'm bored, I need to like vent for, which definitely is not sustainable or not like a effective relationship. So
there's a quick stat that I thought was interesting on this question. I'll share my screen. I don't know if you guys can see the Word document I've got.
Yeah.
So this is from a psychology paper that was conducted by this professor in Australia. And if you look at like the left column, it's basically people who have said that their relationships or their friendships have deteriorated. So you can see like out of 423 people asked, these people were like 27% of the people asked in the survey, and they said their relationships deteriorated. And 39% of the ones that said their relationships deteriorated were had less techno-mediated communication. So my point here is, and what the guy was trying to say is, if in these times you're not making an effort to have a more prominent online presence, or you're not making an effort to like communicate with the people, with your friendships online, you're much more likely to have deteriorated friendships in this period of time. Like, because that's the only tool that we've got. So in a very practical sense, like, we can't expect our friendships to completely like be the same or to continue to rise if we're not making a technological effort in a time where we can only reach each other through technology, if that makes sense. I thought that was interesting, because it's like,
that's really cool.
That is really cool.
The paper.
There's this.
I was just going to say, I'm really curious to see what everything is going to be like after lockdown, when things are back to normal.
I think we're all not going to be normal. None of us are going to be able to talk for more than 20 minutes.
Yeah. Like, oh, I can't handle seeing you. I need to go home.
It's gonna be overload.
You go in the next room and can I text you from there? Because this is
Yeah, right.
I will say though, I think like now that the church is opening on Sunday, I really think like we have to make an effort to book and come to church, because I don't know if any of you have felt this, but when I haven't booked and gone to liturgy in a while, and then I go again, I feel so overwhelmed. And I'm like, who are these people? What is happening? Too much is happening. I can't focus. It like you just go on sensory overload. But I think, and I've seen it in like people that book liturgies regularly and are always in church, like when you can book it through the app, because I feel like when you make that effort, you have like a sense of normality of what things were before, and in small doses you're getting your church back. But if you completely cut it off and you're not making the effort at all to like come in person and like attend liturgy when it's available, you will struggle. Like it's just natural for you that of course you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
You know what?
Maybe you can like go with the face mask and then have an eye mask, and then you get rid of the visual sense, and then you'll be good. Like, you look weird, but maybe that's a step of graded exposure.
I can just take my glasses off, I'll be blind.
Just be blind.
I was going to say, you know, I know COVID's been tough, but like, you know, it does have some blessings. I'm not going to lie, there were some points I'd come to church before lockdown, I wouldn't even say hi to God. Like, I'd just go and, you know, with friends and then just like, you know, so I think scarcity kind of makes us definitely recalibrate and understand what we're meant to be seeing. But that being said, yeah, 100% might need to do it in small doses, because like 3 months apart is getting tough. But guys, should we conclude? I think we've
Should we open it up to questions, or does anyone have any comments?
Nina will conclude the YouTube video, and then maybe we can continue with questions if anyone has any. So Mina, I don't know if you're there, but you want to stop the live stream?
Probably deep in prayer for everyone. He's like Moses when he had the stick up.
Well, if you guys have any questions and you're comfortable with it being on the YouTube live stream, I don't see any reason why not. So feel free, unmute or like
Questions or comments on anything to do with friendship and lockdown.